Welcome back to the Rogue Wave podcast, the frequency for all things pop culture and the disruptors behind us. Join us every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern on Facebook.com/Rogue Wave podcast for the live stream. All right. It dropped, which was pretty cool. The first look at the new slate of Disney Plus series, which we thought was going to be Falcon and Winter Soldier, but as we discussed last segment, it's not. It's going to be WandaVision. Initial reaction, Hassan, to the WandaVision trailer?
I'd say it looks pretty crazy, but it's interesting.
Yeah,
but it seems like you're kind of fishing around in the mind of someone who is traumatized, heavily traumatized.
Yeah, it's literally insane, but I love it. I love every second of it. Like Marvel tends to do, or seems to do, really well, or what they seem to do really well, is take a product that you would have no interest in watching. Like, I mean, let's be honest, right? Like, Scarlet Witch and Vision, and kind of give it to you in a way. You would
have no interest in watching that.
What's that?
You would have no interest in watching that. You're saying
take it from the comics, right? Yeah, like I'd be like, really, Scarlet Witch and Vision series? That's pretty dull. Like that's a dull thing. And then they come out with this like trippy trailer. And some S is going down.
It's weird that would be a reaction after 10 years of content. It's strange to me because whatever they announce, I'm like, okay, I'll check it out. Because they've not, in my opinion, they haven't really missed so far, even with Ant-Man. So I'll at least check it out. But I mean, if your immediate thought is like, well, that sounds dull. I think that's intriguing that it sounds dull, but it's probably not going to be dull because
I'm just saying we can't take it for we can't take for granted how well Marvel does these things. Is my point. Your reaction?
I would.
Your reaction is valid. It's just.
I wouldn't say the most powerful character in the Marvel universe, and one of the most mysterious characters, Vision, in the Marvel universe, together in a show would be boring. My immediate opinion on that.
Juxtapose that with like a Loki series or a Falcon and Winter Soldier series. Like Falcon and Winter Soldier series, like I'm psyched for that. Like I'm like, wow, this is gonna be like espionage, some spy stuff. Like I'm like immediately.
I just wouldn't find any of them. I just wouldn't immediately label any of them as boring.
I didn't say boring. I said dull. And dull's a little different than boring. No, it is. I'm just saying that my immediate reaction when you hear that it's going to be released, you're kind of like, oh, okay. Like, but this has happened so many times to where I agree with you. I give them the benefit of the doubt, but then to come out with a trailer like this that is so trippy and so off the wall. Catherine Hahn, who I love, I think she's amazing. She's going to be in it. Deborah Jo Rupp from That 70s Show. It just, there's a lot of things. Now, we also have
doing that I Love Lucy kind of thing.
Right.
Doing her Ethel, what's it, Ethel Mertz?
Merman?
No, Ethel Merman is an actual, Ethel Mertz. I think the Mertz.
I think you're right. Yeah. Fred Mertz. I think that sounds right.
Yeah.
I'm going back to youth at this point. To dig to mine to see if my 6-year-old self who was watching reruns of I Love Lucy picked up the last name.
We get it.
You're very short with me today here.
I'm short. You're
saving up for this rant. I'm very excited for this.
I don't have anything for the rant.
Oh, good.
I'm trying to get it all out here.
It's our best segment ever.
Yeah.
We as comic book insiders, people who have knowledge of the source material.
Are we though? Are we insiders? Really?
We have knowledge of the source material. A lot of people don't have knowledge.
Look,
Hassan, let me tell you right now.
Keep going.
I know you're kidding, but I want to toot our horns for a second.
Oh boy, don't do that. Things always go wrong when we do that.
I don't think so. What's ever gone wrong? Nothing's ever gone wrong.
What's ever gone wrong? All right. Now that you've already jinxed us, go ahead.
Deadpool's
go right ahead. Go right into it. Yeah.
Deadpool's gonna
really bad's gonna happen.
Dune's gonna be terrible. See? over the course of the Marvel Studios legacy, I mean, think about it now too, right? We're coming on, well, not quite 15 years, but over 10 years of Marvel Studios. Kids who grew up that were 7 are now 17. I mean, right? Put 10 years into perspective, right? Just 10 years. I mean, it's 13 years. So when Marvel Studios first came out, they're like 20 years old. So all they've done is grow up with Marvel Studios films. They generally, and this is just because of talking to comic book shop owners, they're generally not comic book fans. They might walk into a store and pick up a graphic novel, but they're not the ones necessarily picking up the monthlies and, been fans for years and years and years. So they only know the Marvel Studios versions of these characters. However, we know where Marvel Studios is drawing the material from. So the benefit of this, obviously, and I'm not saying we're the only ones. There's obviously people on our Facebook feed who are extremely knowledgeable of all the comic book stuff that comes before. James Massey is always commenting, and David Rosenberg. They're all, these guys, they know their stuff too, which is, giving a shout out to our fans, which is nice. That being said, I think the general public doesn't know a lot of this stuff. I'm wondering, based off this trailer, how much Avengers Disassembled we're going to get, especially when you bring up the kids, right? When Deborah Jo Rupp, who, from that 70s show, is like, why don't you have kids, blah, blah, blah. We know, and this is comic book spoilers, that Scarlet Witch literally willed her children into existence, because how does an android and a human have children? And so the trailer does have them holding kids. It does have this kind of trippy, mind scene going. So I happen to be holding it right here. Look at this. The New Avengers. Brian Michael Bendis. How much do you think that's going to play into this based off the trailer you saw?
I think that would be the main point of the entire story, right? That would be probably part of the main source material for this particular situation.
Yeah.
Especially if she's, and you're going to have to get as much mileage out of that as possible, because theoretically she's going to start becoming the villain,
right,
after this, or temporarily she's going to be a problem after all this goes through. So whatever material you have that leads up to the big event of the second Doctor Strange movie,
yep,
is going to be probably choice material that they're gonna mine from. So most likely a lot of Disassemble will be there.
Yeah, I think so, and I think what's fascinating though is it leads into the Doctor Strange movie, not necessarily another Avengers movie. Not that they're going to do another Avengers movie, but maybe down the line, it will be the crux of the next Avengers film, or I guess Marvel has also set the precedent, right, at this point, where they don't even need to announce an Avengers movie to have the Avengers. I mean, Civil War was essentially supposed to be a Captain America movie, but it was essentially the third Avengers movie if you really think about it, right? And they took a major Avengers storyline and dropped it in there. So maybe Doctor Strange 2 is essentially going to be Avengers Disassembled at that point.
It could be. I mean, they're gonna have to find a new tentpole, definitely, and they're gonna have to build up to their momentum to find out exactly where their seasonal, annual, whatever is going to be. Mm-hmm. Because I mean, the Avengers served to speak comic book parlance. The Avengers basically served as the annual issue of whatever the MCU, whatever you would call the MCU in and of itself. So, and they use it to good effect. There's only really one of them that I found is slightly lackluster, so they got their mileage out of it. But, going into phase, what are we now? Phase 5 we're about to head into?
I think phase 4.
Okay, whatever. I think it's phase 5. I think phase 4 was the end of was Endgame. The end of phase 4 was Endgame, but who knows? I think they're going to have to. It's going to be a little bit of a struggle for them to find their new momentum.
Is this phase 4? No, it's phase 4. Okay, good. Phase 4. Just double checking.
Are we in phase 4 or are we heading into phase 4?
Technically, yeah. I think the Eternals kicks off phase 4. I think Endgame was the end. Black Widow is Black Widow being a prequel, I guess, kicks off Phase 4 just because it's the next phase, but story-wise, because it's set beforehand, is not. The Eternals was supposed to kick off, I think, Phase 4, and these
Okay.
Disney Plus shows. So interesting to see. A couple other little tidbits. Kat Dennings is going to be in the show. We know her from Thor, so that was kind of neat to. I know she wasn't in the trailer, but neat to just kind of see how they keep bringing back characters we've seen before. Tiana Paris reprises her role as Monica Rambeau. The last time we saw her, she was a child in the 1990s during Brie Larson's Captain Marvel, but now she is fully, grown up. And in the trailer, she's getting thrown out of the suburb, into darkness, surrounded by agents with guns. According to The Beat, they think it's from S.W.O.R.D., not S.H.I.E.L.D., which would make sense. Another Joss Whedon contribution to the Marvel Universe, which we've talked about before. And finally, Catherine Hahn, who we mentioned before, everyone's kind of thinking she's going to be Agatha Harkness, who is, again, from the comics major. And I love Catherine Hahn, so I'm glad she anything she's in, she's amazing. And so it looks pretty good. All right. Trailer, truth or trash? The boundaries for the question. Marvel takes an otherwise dull concept and puts a fresh spin on it. Based on this trailer, you think truth or trash?
I think truth. I think always truth.
Pretty obvious question, right?
Yeah.
Couldn't think of anything.
We already discussed it, though. We already talked about that just earlier. So
I know. I'm just
not really a reach, really.
Going with the full circle.
Oh,
all right.
Okay.
When we come back, Hassan's favorite show, The Boys. We didn't even have time to go through episode 4 last week, so we're going to do episode 4 and 5. We're going to review both. Getting heated, Stormfront, Homelander, whole bunch of stuff. Hassan has not watched any of it and will ask me a ton of questions, and I'll tell you why it's amazing when we come back.